your weekly horoscope with Jerry and Matt.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Horoscope. I'm Jerry. That's Matt. We're here this week with you. We're going to talk about a pretty cool topic, I think, home invasion movies. And Matt, this is a pretty rich field that a lot of different movies we could dive into.
You could really define home invasion a lot of different ways. It doesn't always have to be the classic, slasher, someone breaking into your house. We could have picked something like Paranormal Activity, right? Where
Sure.
it's like an entity breaks into your house, and there's a plethora of movies like that. So there's a lot of wiggle room for trying to define what that means. But I think we went with some classics.
What I think makes this category so interesting is home is the ultimate safe place, the ultimate haven.
Yeah.
Where you get to relax. It's yours. It's comforting. It's secure, and this subject completely upends that. You are in your place of comfort with all the comfort removed. So,
Yeah.
if you're out in the middle of the ocean and there's sharks, well, you're in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
It's somewhat expected. In your home, you expect to be safe. So this
Absolutely.
certainly upends that theory.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if you're, like you said, like if you're in the ocean, if you're in the woods, if you're somewhere that's chaotic and unknown, then naturally you're going to come across forces that will just confront you in that element. But when you're in your place of comfort and security, like you said, that's when the anxiety comes. It's the great subject for a horror movie.
Okay, so our first movie selection this week. This was Matt's choice, a 1983 German film called Angst. Right?
Yeah, I'd never heard of this movie before. I was doing some research on some films that I wanted to pick, and I came across Angst, and I kept seeing this. It just kept coming up in lists, so I was like, all right, let's give it a shot.
Sure.
What were your initial thoughts of it?
So I read some things about it when you brought it up, and
Mhm.
one of the things I read was that it was renowned for its camera angles and some of the camera work,
Yep.
and that some other directors cited it as an influence, and also that it had been banned for several years due to violence and so forth. So I went into it. I hadn't seen it before either. I went into it with an open mind and
Yeah.
looking for some of those highlights.
Like a hidden gem, like, oh, I've never heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll walk through the plot. It starts. They're saying it's based on true events, and they're using it's very loosely, as these things usually are, based on a mass murderer, Werner Kniezek. And we start with an overhead shot in a prison, and we're hearing the voiceover from the main character. The main character does not have a name. He is in the credits referenced as the psycho.
Doesn't have a name. It doesn't speak, but he narrates the film, which is
Yes.
interesting, right?
Yes, we're inside his head, and he just describes how he stabbed his mother, and he was in prison for 4 years, but she didn't die. And as soon as he got released, he killed an 80-year-old woman and got 10 more years in prison, and that he's basically been in prison half his life.
Yeah.
And this narration begins on the day he's getting out. He tells us that he fooled the psychologists in the prison. He always told them his dreams were about flowers, and
Yeah.
he kept everything else to himself.
So he could keep
But
fantasizing, yes, because he kept having these sick thoughts. Like he had no intention of getting better with seeing this psychiatrist.
yes, his true desire is the urge to torture humans.
Yep.
So they show him released. They give one of those interesting overhead camera angles. Sometimes the camera's a little shaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I notice as they're moving in and out, the camera quivers a little bit, but it gives you a couple interesting overhead shots, almost like I heard it described in some of the research I did is almost like a godlike view down on this individual.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was something that was meant to be done, or if that's somebody assuming something. But
I thought a lot of the camera work was a lot of the shakiness was to kind of like give you that feeling of angst. Like that's how he's feeling. He's just, there's a lot of, this character has a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in his head. He can't think straight. He's kind of just doing one thing to the next. And I thought the camera angle work was done intentionally for that purpose, because it kind of gives you that feeling of angst. Like you're just like, this guy needs to relax. Like he can't even walk in a straight line, you know?
Yeah. So he's looking to meet people. Just gets out of prison and looking to meet people. His intentions are clear. He doesn't want to lay low. He finds himself in a coffee shop. In the coffee shop, there are two young girls in there, and he immediately starts fantasizing, and shots of the young girls are intermixed with close-up shots of him eating a sausage. And it's showing right up to his mouth. It's kind of a weird mix. It will cut to him chewing or taking the sausage full into his mouth, and then cut to the girls.
And they're smoking cigarettes, and it's right to them, to their lips, smoking cigarettes, and that's back and forth. And
so this just goes on for a couple minutes, and he decides that the
whole time he's narrating, he's just talking about
it's too crowded. There are 3 people in this diner plus the server. It's too crowded, so he leaves. He finds a taxi that happens to be driven by a woman, and his urges start to overtake him. He's taking off his shoelace, and he's going to use his shoelace to strangle her from behind, but she catches a glimpse of what he's doing and slams on the brakes and throws him out. So
and then he starts running, and again with the camera angles. And it's we start getting this. He's in a chaotic mode, and you get the shaky camera angles, and he stumbles.
And he's running crazy. He's not going in any one direction, or it's almost manic. To your point, very much on purpose. While he's running through the woods, he's in an area he does not know. He finds a secluded house that is hidden from 3 sides and kind of off by itself, and appears to be empty. So he breaks in, and he climbs into this house. What struck me as very odd is this home has no furniture. As he's walking through the house, every room is empty.
Well, he broke the window. He breaks the window, climbs through, and then closes the window.
Right. Yeah. He's not real altogether.
No.
There's some bottles and debris on the counter, making it appear lived in, but it's a pretty big house. And as he walks through it, every room is empty.
It's just empty,
which I just find very strange. And he comes across a man in a wheelchair who happens to be drooling, and the man calls him daddy. And he just walks by, leaves the guy, and goes upstairs.
He figured he can't get me up there. So he just runs upstairs.
It's so odd. The human interaction is nothing you could ever make sense of. It's not how you would interact with any other human. It's just I found it very, very weird.
It was very weird, but it also goes with the theme of angst, right? Like that's what he's going through the entire time. Like there's nothing rational about this character whatsoever.
Yeah, that's for sure. A car pulls up, an older woman and a wiener dog get out, and then a younger woman parks the car, and she comes inside. So this home is lived in. There are people who live in this home that is somehow devoid of furniture. I just can't get over how odd that is. Unless they themselves are squatters, but they use the garage, and they certainly act like it's their home. But
it was 1983, and they only had a limited budget. So,
I mean, most houses just have furniture. You could just use what's there. But there is a room with a single mattress on it. Again, 3 adults living here, and a wiener dog. A single mattress and a pile of clothes. And that's the only thing we see. The mother notices the broken window and calls out to the daughter, but the man jumps on the mother and knocks her down. Then he knocks the man out of the wheelchair, and he goes and locks the door. Again, I find all the behavior erratic, almost nonsensical.
The daughter
The daughter comes in, and using pantyhose, he ties her to a doorknob.
Yeah, that was a very interesting scene. Because I don't know how he managed that, and I don't know how she allowed that to happen. But
he struggled with it.
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of sense. It
Yeah.
did not seem like she
Yeah.
would not be able to get out of that.
Right.
And
A simple
what I found
headbutt
very
or a
interesting,
push could have like pushed him off. Yeah, it was one of the most impractical scenes I'd ever seen.
the mother, he's running back and forth getting supplies, trying to secure her. The mother is standing in the room while he keeps running by with no
Yeah.
expression.
It does nothing.
She's not yelling. She's not screaming. She's not trying to get away. She is completely blank and expressionless, and not portrayed in a way of shock, which is, again, completely irrational reaction.
Yeah. Almost
she would
like
be doing something.
She forgot her lines, and they just kept it. They just kept filming.
The director didn't tell her what to do. She's literally standing there while he's trying to. He's running back. Again, I'm scratching my head, going, what's going on here?
Yeah. Did they forget she was in the shot, and they just kept it?
He resumes his attack on the mother. He's talking about his internal dialogue about his rough childhood. While he's struggling with the mother, he knocks her dentures out, and the wiener dog grabs her dentures and runs off to chew them, which was at least some comedy relief at this point.
They got the dog to do something like that, but they couldn't get the mother to say her lines.
Right. He reacted in a reasonable manner. No one else did. Yeah. So he knocks her out, or knocks her dentures out, and he ties up the mother. And then he collapses. He's exhausted. He's sweaty.
Yeah.
And while else is going on, the man from the wheelchair is pulling himself up the steps, arm over arm, and I don't know where he's escaping to. It really wouldn't make sense if you were in his physical condition to
go towards all this.
Lock yourself upstairs. But he follows him upstairs. The psycho does.
I think he still thinks it's his dad, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you doing this, Dad? And he proceeds to choke him, and then drown him in the tub.
Mm-hmm.
The tub was full of water because the daughter was drawing a bath before her mother called to her. So tub's already full, and he puts his head in there, and he drowns the man. And now he wants to. Part of his problem is he wants to show people stuff. So his plan is to go downstairs, get the mother, and bring her up to see her dead son.
Mm-hmm.
That's his goal. When he gets the mother, she's non-responsive. He was choking her, tying her up, struggling with her. She's completely non-responsive at this point. And he does this he gets his arms around her and pulls her up. And they do this. It's almost like an odd dance of the dead that he's swaying her around, and she's completely unresponsive. And it goes on for a few moments. It's again another.
It's weird,
peculiar.
Yeah.
At this point, the daughter tells him that the mother needs her medication. So he puts her in the wheelchair and unties the daughter, and again, just so odd. He's basically entwined with her on the ground, and they scoot out to the kitchen together. Almost like a romantic entanglement.
Yeah.
But rather than lead her to the kitchen, he gets on her, wraps around through her, and they scoot out to the kitchen that way.
Yeah.
Gets the right medication. He goes back to revive the mother so that he can show her the dead son. And he's just throwing pills down her throat. I don't know what the dosage is.
Yeah.
But it probably wasn't 20. He's just throwing them down her throat.
Yeah.
And she's out, and she doesn't come through, and it becomes apparent that the mom is also dead.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah. Bizarre string of events where as far as the character behavior, because he's trying to, on one hand, he's murdering people, and he's like, hey, yeah, take your medicine. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to revive you just so I
Yeah.
can punish you more.
And
But it didn't work out that way.
But then the whole time he's also narrating like how he was abused as a child and what he went through. Like, and it's just, it's odd. There's multiple layers
Once
of
he
weird.
realizes she's not coming to, he pushes her out of the wheelchair, and on her way to collapsing against the wall, she knocks out the only light. So now it's dark. I found the camera views very hard to follow in the dark. He's chasing the daughter. It was really hard to see. They cut to the dog in the corner chewing the dentures again.
Yep.
Which makes me chuckle.
Yeah.
The daughter crashes through the glass door to get outside, and he's chasing her, and she ends up in a tunnel under a man-made pond, apparently a service tunnel for the valves and the so forth, but just happens to be there.
Yep.
And he catches her and he stabs her over and over and over and over and over. And the blood is splattered. It is the only point in the film there is blood.
I was gonna say, it's the most vicious part. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no blood anywhere else in the film except for this scene, and there's a lot of blood, and it's spraying and making patterns on the concrete wall behind them. And then he has blood all over him. She has blood all over, and they cut back, and he's laying on top of her again in almost a romantic entwine, and they cut to his pants are down. So at some point, the implication is that this turned into more than a stabbing.
Yeah.
Before, during, after.
Yeah, they never really.
Clear.
Yeah, it's always kind of implied. I was like, wait, what just happened? I had to rewind it. I was like, did I miss something? Yeah, like it was. Yeah. It was odd. And then before that,
they don't show him do anything.
It was a scene before that when he was like on the mother upstairs and he like almost has this orgasm and then stands up. Like it was. Yeah. There's a lot of weird sexual innuendo going on with these killings.
Yeah. And he actually falls asleep on her body in the tunnel and stays there all night. Very romantic.
Yeah.
For him, I guess. In the morning, he goes back to the house and he decides he wants to take all the corpses with him so that he can have them at all times while looking for new victims. And his concept that he's talking through his head is, he wants to lock his new victims in rooms with corpses to scare them.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is the last 30 minutes of the film. They do this. Like you think like, oh, he's killed the family. It's over. It's like, no, he's going to drag this out for another 30 minutes. Yeah. Literally, no pun intended.
He drags the two bodies from the house to the tunnel. He gets the car from the garage. And this is a Mercedes sedan. All three adult human bodies fit in the trunk, which is, I'm like, there's no way he's going to fit them all in the trunk. And he keeps pushing them in the trunk and they all fit somehow, which was amazing trunk capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Mercedes wants to run a commercial off of that, they could.
Slap the hood. You could put 3 dead bodies in this baby.
It's unbelievable. He goes back in the house. He washes up. He gets a clean shirt, but he's wearing the same, he gets new pants. He's wearing the same bloody shirt and can't find a shirt. So he gets a long woman's overcoat that he puts on, but doesn't button. So the bloody shirt is still very much visible.
Yeah. He's manic. Again, he's manic. He has no idea what he's doing. Yeah.
Behavior that, hard to put yourself in the mind of a crazy person, but, he goes back out to the car. The wiener dog follows him out. And he puts him in the car with him, which, to me, the star of the film at this point is the wiener dog.
Right.
Right. He's the character I've been most intrigued with at this point.
Right. The most consistent.
On his way back into town, he crashes into a parked car and he's confronted by a bunch of onlookers, including
almost hits school-age children. He almost hits a bunch of school kids and they stop and like, whoa. Yeah.
And he just peels off. And he goes back to the same diner where he first started when he got out of prison. And of course, the same people are sitting there. He goes in and he orders another sausage.
Yep.
Or German,
a brat,
schnitzel or a brat or whatever it was. Same. He's eating it. Cut to the girls. The only difference this time is they cut to the dogs up in the window barking in the car. So he takes the sausage out to the car, and for some reason, everybody in the diner follows him. Which again, there's no logic. If a crazy person comes in where you're eating and they leave,
Right.
you lock the door. You're glad they left.
Right.
They all go out to the parking.
Yeah, it was like some weird part of a play. Yeah, everyone just exit stage. Everyone follows them. Yeah.
The police pull up. We assume possibly from the accident that he just drove away from, but they want to see his registration. He is thrilled with the idea. Now he's got the cops, the girls, everybody from the diner, and his idea is he's thrilled with scaring everybody. So he decides to open the trunk. And what I found, again, very odd is when he opens the trunk, there is no reaction from anybody.
Yeah, they're just staring. It's like the camera starts slowly fading and like everyone's just like staring at the trunk.
It pulls back overhead.
Yep.
Nobody's yelling. The cops are not cuffing him.
Yeah.
Nobody even has a shocked look.
Everyone's just looking.
Completely emotionless. Which again I just found very baffling. And as the camera's up in the sky pulling away from this scene, you get a voiceover from the psychologist explaining that his sadistic nature comes from his unstable childhood. That's it.
Yep. And that they're going to put him away.
The lead actor was Erwin Leader, and displaying full tilt nuttiness. He was definitely all in.
Yeah.
The rest of the production I found very amateurish. I think the acting from the other parties was all very poor. I thought the lighting was poor. There is no story to this. There's no, you don't meet the family. You don't know anything about them. You don't care about them. It's it clocks in at like an hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's with credits and everything.
Yeah.
It is very sparse story. I honestly didn't enjoy the film.
It's really boring. It's boring. I had to really struggle to find silver lining in it. I did appreciate the camera, the shakiness of the camera as far as the way the movie was meant to be. I mean, the movie called Angst, where a guy's manic and he's over it. I mean, he has no sensibilities whatsoever. He just wants to kill. He has, he just gets immediately when he gets out of jail, that's all he's looking to do. He gets everywhere he goes. He has no idea really what's going on. And they have this really angst like thing that they put around him. So I think the camera angles work for that, but it's not enjoyable. Like it's not something I sat down like, oh, this is, I'd watch this again. I watched it. I was just kind of, ugh. Yeah.
It's a dark, it's an ugly film. The comparison I would draw to it in one way in the psychological profile of a killer is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Mm-hmm.
But Henry has so much backstory and characters, and it has a real story to it. It has outstanding actors to it. It's to me it wants to be something like that, but it falls very short.
Very short. Yeah, the cinematography was not that great. They could have taken that style and had some great shots with it, but yeah, the whole movie feels manic. Like it's just one thing to the next, and yeah, it just doesn't connect well.
And this was the director's fourth or fifth film, so it wasn't his first go. But according to everything I could find, he has not done a film since.
No.
So maybe
the film kind of ruined him a little bit.
Yeah, maybe so.
I like the idea.
That's Angst.
Yeah.
From 1983.
Yep.
Our next film we're going to talk about is a French film. For some reason, we went all foreign this week. But this film is called Inside from 2007. And this film is completely different, huh, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. You recommended, you gave me this movie. You recommended this movie to me years ago when I had appendicitis. And then when I recovered from appendicitis, you said, "Here, watch this movie." So when I watched it, it was actually hilarious to me, just because of the context. But this movie is anything but a comedy. It is a
Sure.
it is a vicious, unreasonably vicious roll tide of brutal violence.
It is.
It's very well made. This is
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite slashers. I love it. I could watch this movie
Yeah.
over and over and over again. It's very good.
Yeah. I agree completely. I watched this with the first time I saw it. I was with three of my favorite women in the world,
Yeah.
and at the end, I think we all looked at each other and went, "Holy crap!
Yeah. Yeah.
What did we just see?" But
Yeah.
the movie starts with a shot of a baby inside the womb, and you hear a woman's voice, and then you see an abrupt slam. And we cut back. There was a car crash in the rain. There's a woman that and a man covered in blood. The woman slowly comes to, but the man is dead. And the woman, you see her reach down, and she has a pregnant stomach, and she's cradling it. And then the opening credits come, and there's blood all through the opening credits. And boy, is that indicative of things to come.
Mm-hmm.
This film is edge of your seat, unrelenting, in my opinion.
The whole time.
Very brief setup. We jump forward 4 months. It's Christmas Eve, and
It's a Christmas
the woman
movie.
is, yeah, Christmas movie. Yeah, yeah. We were going to save it for that category in a couple
Yeah,
weeks, but
yeah.
she's having an ultrasound, and they're going to induce labor tomorrow on Christmas morning. You see the woman still has a facial scar from the accident. As she's waiting for a ride, a random nurse comes and sits down and tells her an awful story about how bad it is to have babies, particularly your first babies, how much it hurts, how long it takes, and then says that she was in labor 13 hours and hers was born dead. She tells this to a woman who's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And she has this real
she then-
snide. She has a snide attitude.
Yeah.
She's smoking a cigarette. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she lights a cigarette right in her face.
Yeah.
And yeah, the girl calls her a name and leaves. Her mother picks her up, but she tells her mother that she really wants to be alone, not to come over tonight, and that her boss is taking her to the hospital tomorrow. She doesn't want her mother involved. She goes for a walk in the park. She's taking photographs of a family. You can see it's a mother, father, and a child, and you can see a little longing in her eyes because her husband is no longer. But she takes some nice pictures of the family, and then her boss shows up. Seems like a good guy, seems to really care for her. They don't have any, it's above board completely, but
Yep.
he wants to help her. So he takes her home and says he'll be there in the morning. She goes in and starts looking at some pictures of her dead husband.
Yep.
Sort of mourning his loss again. She actually imagines him there hugging her from behind and holding her, and real nice moment. They give you some emotion
Yeah.
before they remove all of it from the rest of the movie. She falls asleep while she's knitting and has a dream that she's throwing up a milk-like substance, and then the baby births from her mouth.
Yes.
And then she snaps awake. But that scene's
incredible.
A wow scene for me.
Yeah.
I always, the dream sequence is always like, hey, you can do anything because it's a dream. You don't have to explain it or have any rationale to it. But that one was pretty simple, pretty graphic, and kind of cool. So she wakes up with somebody knocking at the door, and they tell her that they asked to come in and use the phone. And she's saying no, it's late. And then she says her husband's sleeping, and then the voice at the door says, "No, he's not, Sarah. He's dead." And now she's like, and that's like the first. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
How do you know my name?
Yeah, it becomes this apparition, right? Like what's going on? Yeah, yeah. Who is this? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the woman slinks back. She calls the cops. The woman slinks back into the shadows, but she tries getting pictures with the flash from her camera to see if she can identify this person because they obviously know her and she wants to know who they are and what they want. The police arrive and they find nothing, of course.
Of course.
But they agree to have the night patrol check in later.
Most classic
which is,
cop scene of every movie. Yeah, well, sure thing, lady. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out.
The cops make some questionable choices later on that we'll talk about, but they don't. Obviously, she's not going to be found. She knows they're coming. So she goes to bed, and we cut to her sleeping with a shadow figure of a woman standing over her bed.
I love that shot. It was really good. Because it got me. I was like, my eyes widened. I was like, oh no. Like when I saw that, that's a really good shot. I mean, the whole movie.
It's so simple.
Yes.
But so eerie. And to me is the epitome of what the home invasion category is.
Yeah.
She's comfortably asleep in her bed and this menacing figure is just looming over her.
Yeah. Everything from Halloween to strangers to all sorts of, that one good cut scene where you see them in the background like that. And you're just like, oh.
Yeah. The woman goes around the house, looks around a little bit, smells some baby clothes, which they wouldn't have a scent yet. There's no baby, but I kind of got the sentiment. But she goes into the bathroom and gets a tub of alcohol or a bottle of alcohol and the scissors. And she comes back and pulls up the shirt so the pregnant belly is exposed. And she's dipping the scissors in the alcohol. And as the viewer, you're going, no way she is not doing this.
Yep.
Right? Crazy. And
yeah.
Again, edge of your seat.
Yeah. You're picking your jaw up the whole time.
She sticks the scissors into the belly button and starts to cut.
Yeah.
And you just see a little trickle of blood. And then Sarah wakes up. And they tussle a little bit. They struggle. She slashes Sarah in the face with the scissors.
Yeah.
And Sarah's able to get the lamp off the nightstand, bash her in the head, and get free and get away from her.
Another
where she runs into the bathroom and locks the door.
Yep.
Her face is bleeding. It's almost like she got her right where the scar was from her car accident.
Yeah, it was like right on the lip. Yeah, it's just like right on the cheek and the lip and comes down.
Yeah. Now she's locked in the bathroom. The woman's outside, and there was a bit of a standoff. Well, her boss, she had called her boss about enhancing the photograph she took earlier, and her boss stops by to check on her. He sees this woman. He has no idea who she is, but he assumes it's her mother. Now, I question that a little bit. They didn't necessarily look to have the age differential of mother-daughter, but you see that sometimes where the mother, looks young.
Yeah.
So he just assumes it's the mother because he's never met the mother, and of course the intruder goes along with it. Right? She'll play that game, and she asks him to stay and have a drink.
Yeah.
So again, the tension is just you feel it in every scene because what's going to happen? This woman's unhinged. And lo and behold, it gets worse.
Yeah.
The real mother shows up. And now everyone's questioning everyone. And the real mother says, I'm going up to get my daughter. Kind of establishing herself that, she is the real mom.
Yeah. That authority figure. Like, hold on, let me set this straight real quick. Yeah.
That's an action that the real mom would
do. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sarah has gotten herself a long needle and is waiting by the door. And as her mother comes up to check on her, she opens the bathroom door and sticks her in the neck with the needle.
Incredible scene. Well, it's an incredible scene for two reasons. A, it's not the worst thing that's going to happen in this movie, her killing her mom. And B, the what do you call it? The graphics that they used for it were intense. Like, that was really well done. like with the blood like coming like right out of the neck, and they show it up close, and it's just squirting out all over the wall, and she's like going up against the wall trying to like struggle for her life, and it's just an incredibly well done scene. And it's not even the worst thing that's going to happen. So it's emotional and it's well done, and you're like, and it gets worse.
It's like one of her avenues of escape or relief.
Yeah.
She just eliminated on her own, on top of it being her mother. I agree. I actually made note of the same thing, that the scene was spectacularly shot. As the mother turns and walks away, it's spurting out of her neck, and it's decorating the wall as she goes, and it's very spectacularly done.
It's vicious. It's right in line with the entire movie.
Yeah. Well, her boss, Jean-Pierre, hears the commotion. He comes upstairs to see what's going on, and he sees the mother on the ground, blood everywhere. Sarah's outside of the bathroom door. And before he can do anything, the intruder sticks the scissors through the back of his knee.
It's impaling, just impales right through the back, all the way through like his knee bone, like right through his patella, just like right through, and they show it.
Yeah. Tender spot, just awful, awful to think of, but it gets worse. She turns the man over and stabs him straight in the balls, and not just stabs. She's twisting and grinding, and there's blood flowing everywhere.
It's brutal.
It's so brutal. Then she takes the scissors, stabs him in the face, and then slits his throat. Like, I don't know what more you could do to this poor guy.
Massacred. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like you say, it's just the whole movie is brutal. The effects are beautifully done.
Fantastic.
You can call it such a thing. But
Tom Savini would be proud when he saw that movie. Yeah.
Outstanding practical effects. She drags the body off the stairs, and Sarah sneaks into the bedroom looking for something, maybe a phone. Not sure what she's looking for, but she doesn't find it. And the woman hears her and runs up and actually catches her before she gets back into the bathroom. She's got her by the hair, and the two women struggle, and Sarah's able to stick the long needle through the woman's arm to free herself. So she's now locked again in the bathroom, and the woman is outside with the needle through her arm, and she's just angry.
Yeah, she's mad about it. She's like screaming, like she's just mad that she like got her. Like it doesn't even seem like she's in pain. She's just angry that she got her.
Yeah. And that's the point when I realized nothing's stopping this woman.
Nothing.
Because it's not, like you said, she's not hurt. She's just blind rage and singularly focused on whatever she's there to accomplish. In fact, she kills Sarah's cat out of just pure spite and anger. So the night patrol cops that are going to check back on her do stop by, and the intruder answers the door and pretends that she's Sarah. Everything's fine. So she tells them to leave. While they're doing this, Sarah is trying to cut a hole through the bathroom door to get out. And the intruder goes up. All that's hanging out of the door is Sarah's arm. She grabs her arm and takes the scissors and impales her hand straight to the wall.
Yeah.
Those scissors have seen some action tonight.
I was just going to say, so those are some of the best scissors I've ever seen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So now Sarah's trapped in the bathroom with her arm through the door, impaled into the wall. Just couldn't be in a worse position. While this is going on, the cops realize that the woman they just saw was not pregnant, and the woman they were supposed to check on was very pregnant. So they decide to go back in, and they kind of barge right in, knowing something might be wrong at this point. Two cops come in. There's one in the car still with someone they had picked up that night, which I find weird. 3 cops on patrol I find weird, and I don't feel like you'd go to somebody's house with a perp in the car, but they do.
Yeah.
The one says, "Watch her. I'm going upstairs to see what's going on." And he walks upstairs, and of course, it's just carnage. And he yells down, to arrest her. And as the cops tries to bring her to the ground to put the cuffs on her, she has that long needle hidden up her sleeve. right through the eye.
Ugh.
Just again, brutal.
One of the most cringy things I whenever I watch any movie, any kind of movie, and anytime someone stabs someone in the eye, that's like the most cringe for me. It's the hardest thing to watch, but I love it. I think it's awesome. But it's just one of those things where it's just vicious, you know. It's like I just can't think of a more vicious thing to do to someone other than, you know, when you get stabbed in the dick. But that doesn't happen as often in movies. So
Yeah. Well, this movie's got all of it.
it's got all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Any place you can be stabbed, you're getting it in this movie.
Yeah.
The upstairs cop gets Sarah's hand free and opens the door, and you think, okay, Sarah may finally have some relief here. And instead, the 2/3 of the cop's head is blown directly all over Sarah, as the intruder had gotten the gun from the downstairs cop and just completely obliterates his skull all over Sarah.
An incredible shot, by the way. I mean by the movie itself, like, but
Yeah,
like the special effects are just incredible.
yeah, yeah. There's not one point in the movie where you're sitting there thinking this doesn't look realistic.
Yeah,
They all
yeah,
look exactly as you would think something
Yeah.
horrific like this would look.
yeah. And then she
Uh,
has the perfect scream to go with it too. Like she was a fantastic actress. Like, yeah,
Yeah. So hearing the shot, the third cop from the car says he has to go in, and in the best decision possible, he brings the perp with him. Now they picked this guy up for something minor. I'm telling you, if you hear gunshots, you just tell him to go. Say, hey, don't let it happen again. All right.
yeah, yeah.
They bring him in with them for some reason, which again, French film, I don't know what procedures would be there. It just seems like an unlogical thing to do.
Right.
So they find Sarah, but they don't find the intruder. Sarah's laying on her bed, like, I don't know what, just like completely relaxing, blown away from everything she's seen, trying to gather. I don't know what she's doing, but she's just on her bed. And the cop and the perp go off to find the breakers to try to turn the lights on. Now it's dark, and there's some creepy stalking and some eerie, you know, what's around the corner type of scenes that are just add to the tension that you've been immersed in for an hour at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the intruder, she shoots the cop in the face with a riot gun, just annihilates the guy's face. Not exploding his head like the other cop,
Right.
but his face is just hamburger now. It's just a complete mess. And then she takes, of course, her favorite scissors, which she got back into her hands now, and stabs the perp straight through his forehead. And again, there's not a body part safe in this movie.
No, and then he goes to, like, he slowly like pulls it out, and like he's just like trying to, like, with whatever lobotomized version of himself that still exists, he's trying to like swing it in the air to like get her, and she's kind of just off to the side, like, I don't know, having a cigarette or something like that, just watching him. Yeah, just like, what are you doing? Yeah, it's just such a good like, it's not just a quick stab and he's dead, move on to the next thing. Like each kill was like a slow, vicious brutality that was occurring, and you get to experience it.
It's very clear who's in control.
Yeah,
as this all as it all unfolds.
And I remember watching it. He was like pulling it out, and I'm like, "No, you idiot! Don't pull it out. You'll bleed to death." Like, as if I know what to do in that situation.
Yeah. Next time that happens to you, you'll be prepared. The intruder goes up to the bed where Sarah is, and she gently lays on her, and almost in a romantic embrace, she brings her mouth to hers, which I found very strange. But of course, this woman's obviously strange.
It's a French movie, Jerry.
Yeah. French like their women on women action, I guess, but this is a little bit different. Sarah bites her lip, bites it, blood flowing all over, which gets her off of her, and then Sarah runs downstairs, and they fight in the kitchen, and Sarah is getting her ass kicked. She's
Yeah.
getting hit with toasters, but she's fighting.
Yeah.
She's not at the point where she's hiding. She's fighting,
Right. It's a
and
scrap. Yeah.
she finally gets control of the situation with an aerosol can and a lighter, and just cooks the intruder's face.
Melts her. Yeah.
It's sizzling. It's cracking. The
Yeah.
hair's burning.
I love it.
Another
It's yeah,
scene where you're just like,
it's not like one of those quick things where it's like and she like sprays away. Like it's a stop and it's just like full blown torch. Like and you get to see it. The camera pans back and lets you watch it. And
yeah,
it's another fantastic use of the special effects in this movie.
yeah, beautifully done. At this point, Sarah is from the struggles. She can't breathe, and so of course, with the knitting needle, she gives herself a tracheotomy
Yeah.
and then duct tapes her neck.
No. Thank
So
God for
she's
duct
kind
tape.
of evolved from hiding in the bathroom
Yeah.
to a Rambo like figure
Yeah.
at this point, except she's 8 months and 29 days pregnant, which is creates a whole level of challenge for this poor
Yeah.
girl. Um, Now she gets a weapon and she's searching for the woman. She knows she's hurt her, and she's now the hunted. She's now the hunter instead of the hunted.
Yeah.
And this is where she finds the attacker, and this is where we finally get, what happened, why this woman is doing this. The woman was the other vehicle in the car accident that opened the film, and she was pregnant also
Mm.
for that accident and lost her baby. And she blames Sarah and plans on taking hers as a replacement.
Yeah.
So you probably figured, some kind of this kind of motivation might exist. You knew she wanted her baby, um, but it nice ties it all up in a bow as to
It
who and
was
what.
it was a fantastic twist. And for a second, like I was wondering if there was like some supernatural element to it. Like was she actually alive, or maybe she was like a specter that was kind of coming back to like I don't know. I don't know. My imagination was kind of running for a little bit, but it was an incredible twist at the end of the movie. I didn't see it coming.
Their their discussion gets interrupted by the third police officer, who is alive but blind and disoriented from the riot gun going off in
Mhm.
his face. And when Sarah approaches him, he thinks he thinks it's the intruder, and he just starts wailing on Sarah with his nightstick, including hitting her straight into the stomach with her club.
Yeah,
Um,
which
and
induces another graphic scene.
yes, her water breaks
Yeah,
everywhere,
it was
and
goopy. Yeah,
and it was very goopy. It had
yeah, yeah,
blood in it. It had uh,
yeah. It's a
another
mess.
extremely graphic scene that they don't pull any punches.
No, yeah. I don't know how much more blood she can lose at this point.
And he's about to kill Sarah, from what it appears. He's blind, disoriented, and he's just going on whoever. But the intruder kills the officer before he can kill Sarah. Um, at this point, Sarah crawls up onto the stairs. These stairs had a lot of action in this movie.
Yeah,
Um, and she's starting to give birth, but she tells the woman the baby's stuck.
yeah,
Well, we go back to the beginning, when the woman was standing over her, and the woman gets out the scissors. At this point, she doesn't bother with the alcohol. Those scissors have been
yeah,
inside of
yeah,
so many bodies at this point.
yeah.
Um, and she gives her a C-section right there on the stairs with the scissors. And they show the cut, they
Yep.
show the pull, and they show just a waterfall of blood and body fluids down the
Literally,
steps.
literally right down the steps. Yeah, it's one of the most graphic scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
And as she takes the baby out, you see Sarah on the steps, completely opened up. You can see her entrails.
Yep.
Totally agree with you. It is extremely graphic, and to me, it
Fit-
hits
fit-
harder than like a zombie movie
Yeah.
because this whole movie is based. There's nothing supernatural. It's
Right.
just it's all realistic. It's all
Yeah.
human on human, and it's just a level of violence that I've seen in very, very few movies.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, like that last shot of her on the steps at the end, it's like from top to bottom, like her face is beaten in with cuts, and then she's got the tracheotomy going on with the tape, and then right down to the abortion, or not a, well, I mean the birth, or however you want to call it. It's her stomach's just ripped open. It's just vicious. Yeah.
Totally vicious. The baby lives. Sarah does not, and the last scene is the intruder, bloody herself at this point, her face
Burnt. She's burnt to a crisp. Her
burnt.
hair is all burnt on her and everything. Yeah.
She looks like you were making s'mores and forgot your marshmallow too long.
When you burnt, yeah, when you burnt your sister's Barbie when you were a kid.
Yeah. Uh,
Not that I ever did that, Jerry. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
I was about to question that one because I never did that, but in her condition she's in, she's sitting in the rocking chair, holding the baby, and she has a look of satisfaction on her face, and cut to black.
Sadistic. Yeah, sadistic. Yeah.
Um, Certainly, I think the most violent movie in this category, one of the most violent movies in any category.
Yeah.
But it's all extremely well done. If you don't mind blood and guts, this movie is edge of your seat, fantastic.
Yeah, it's not pointless. It has a there's the real story behind it. There's a real, like, you feel you don't just feel for the person that's happening to. It's the fact that she's pregnant and there's another innocent like baby involved. Like the whole, it just adds this level of morality to it that just it's intense. It's not just one person versus another. Oh, you're like Halloween or Freddy or any one of these movies where it's just random people. It's like there's this innocence involved in it that you don't see in a lot of other movies. That just makes it that much more intense to watch.
And I'll draw this comparison. This is also a fairly short movie.
Yeah.
The runtime on this movie is 5 minutes longer than Angst that we talked about previously.
Yeah.
Now those 5 minutes are pretty damn good because the quality of this movie from front to back, you learn about the characters, you care about the characters. It's got a great story. Yeah. We talked about the effects. If you can stomach this movie, I highly recommend it.
Highly recommend movie. It. Yeah, I've watched it a bunch of times. I'm going to watch it a lot more in the future. It's actually a great comparison. If you're going to compare Angst and Inside, the difference between the quality of storytelling in a movie, in a slasher type film. It's not just about just the slashing and just any, just the random chaos of something. It's really about the quality of narrative that you have that really, can induce that intense sensation of watching a movie like this.
Yeah. Quality of acting, quality of cinematography, absolutely. Quality of effects, night and day.
Night and day. Yeah.
So home invasions is a topic it's a deep and rich topic that we could revisit at another date. There's a lot of great films in this category that we could break down. Our topic for next week is a cool one. I think it's remakes that don't suck. Yeah. And when you start to talk about remakes and sequels, you hear a lot of negative, but there are some really good ones out there, and that's where we're going to go with you next week.
Yeah, and there's some movies that you feel like they shouldn't ever get remade, and then they do, and you're like, why did they do that? But there's some, like you said, there are some movies that get remade that are absolutely fantastic.
So we look forward to that, to talk to you next week. That wraps up our show on home invasions. I'm Jerry. That's Matt. This is the Weekly Horrorscope. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you next
everyone.
time.
All right, next time.
Your Weekly Horrorscope with Jerry and Matt.